Dozens of immigrant children were reunited with their parents Tuesday as a result of a court ruling by a federal judge. But only about half of the children aged 5 and under have been reunited, according to the government. Officials say that under 3,000 children of all ages remain separated from their families in U.S. custody. Mireya Villarreal joins us now from El Paso, Texas. Mireya, what protocols did the judge issue Tuesday for the reunification process of the remaining children separated from their parents?
Well, I think it was very clear, Elaine, that the judge wasn't going to say whether he was going to extend the deadline or not. I think he truly appreciated the cooperation that he was seeing between the ACLU, who is involved in this lawsuit, as well as the Department of Justice and the Department of Health and Human Services. Clearly, this weekend, they were rushing to try and meet this July 10th deadline, and it didn't happen. They still have a number of kids that are expected to stay in their shelters. I think the protocols that we will see in place is that the judge wants to see constant progress. He wants to make sure that the government knows that they are on notice and that they need to have a system in place that properly tracks these children. I think there was also a concern by the ACLU that, these parents were providing some pretty heavy documents, birth certificates and all sorts of legal information proving that these children were theirs, and yet they were still having to go through DNA testing, which is, kind of something that they don't normally do or hadn't done in the past. So again, the judge agreed with the ACLU here and said, if you're going to have to do this DNA testing, make sure it's only in certain cases. So, I think what we're going to see as far as stricter protocols is the judge making sure that there is a constant increase in the number of children that are being reunified on a regular, quick basis.
Well, Mireya, the deadline to reunite more than 2,000 children over the age of 5 with their families is July 26th. How much progress is the government making towards that deadline?
I think that's where everybody takes a big sigh and kind of holds their breath, because we have seen a lot happen just in the last week. Clearly, the Department of Health and Human Services, their feet were held to the fire, so they had to show some sort of number, some sort of progress. I think now the ACLU will even admit that they have seen, a plan, a system put in place that should have been probably put in place months ago, if not years ago. A system where you will see all different federal agencies speaking to each other. So you're talking about the Office of Refugee and Resettlement, the Department of Health and Human Services, ICE, as well as Border Patrol, Customs, and Border Protection. I mean, that's 5 different federal agencies that I can name off the top of my head. They all need to be talking to each other and better tracking, especially the children that are being separated or were separated previously. So, as far as that July 26th deadline, I think that there is hope that now that there is a system in place, they will move faster. But a lot of immigration officials that we are talking to here on the ground in El Paso and around the country are saying, listen, I just don't think it's realistic to have nearly 3,000 children back with their parents that soon.
Well, you've reported that parents who were separated from their children have to purchase the plane ticket for their child if the reunion requires travel. What about families who can't afford plane tickets but need to travel? How will they be reunited?
In some cases where we have talked to some of the immigration attorneys working with these clients that have been separated, they've actually gone to court for them, told them that there's no way that these parents can pay for these kinds of things. And we've seen the federal government waive some of these fees. In other situations, we actually see nonprofit organizations step up and actually offer to pay things like bonds, travel, testing as well. So I think that there is an ability for these families to somehow find the money and reunite. It's just going to be on a case-by-case basis.
All right, Mireya Villarreal for us. Mireya, thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.